Hello, everyone. Mike Lee Chave back in the studio here today to help enhance your tank on picking the best filtration types for the type of tank that you're going to be building and scaping. This is definitely something that you want to keep tuning into and going back to if you do have any questions when you're trying to pick out the correct type of filtration for your aquarium and to help enhance the life and also the plants. What are the best ones out there? We're going to dive in and help you discover the best route to go when you're getting ready to build your tank. But without further ado, let's hop on in and talk about this. All right, so the discovery in and of itself takes a long time to figure out what is the best type of filtration. I've journeyed through it, so no longer do you have to purchase a ton of different ones to go through and figure out the best ones. So there's mainly three types of filtration in the aquascaping hobby currently for freshwater, of course. Not going to be talking about saltwater. First and foremost, the beginner one that everyone recommends, especially if you're just having a hyper planted tank. You can still have with the planted tank, but typically you don't, not over extremely scaped, would be an aeration, aka sponge filter. So sponge filters are great for the hobby, especially when you're starting out. They do have a sponge essentially around it. It's aeration that goes down into the sponge filter. It creates a venturi, which creates a suction into the actual sponge itself. That creates a bunch of surface area for beneficial bacteria and then pushes that back up out of that sponge filter and then creates aeration and breaks the water surface tension at the top, which also helps convert that CO2 out of your tank as well. These are great when you're starting out in the hobby, especially if you're not going to have a heavily planted tank. You can put this in a back corner somewhere and then you can take it out, clean the sponge, and it definitely is great for not having super high flow rate for shrimp. It's definitely highly recommended when I was starting out in the hobby to get one of those. I never used one because of the aeration pumps. The aeration pumps are noisy and I'm noise sensitive, and I don't like having that oscillation that happens from the air pump and then also having that in the tank. So I just don't prefer it. However, I did end up just having an air pump because I did find one that is super quiet way down the road in the hobby, and I never got into sponge filters in the beginning. So if you do need one, I have a brand that is super quiet. It's like 21 dBs. I forget what the decimals for sound is, but yeah, I checked it with my Apple Watch. So definitely recommend this brand from Hager. They have a great quiet aeration pump. I do run one now on my high-tech tank and another 10-gallon tank behind me. Okay, so with that being said, sponge filters are great for beginners and shrimp tanks. However, there's a caveat there because I don't use them in any of my shrimp tanks. Reason being is that I like to scape my tanks, and I don't have an area or never found an area where I could keep that sponge filter then being able to pull it out to clean that sponge because it takes up space in your scape. It's not on the outside, it's on the inside of your tank, so I just don't prefer them. So that being said, they're great for not having a high flow rate for shrimp. They create aeration, which relieves CO2 out of your aquarium, breaking the surface tension, right? So they are great. Now, that being said, adding oxygen to your tank as well, they're just not preferred for me. They may be preferred for you starting out in the hobby. So, next one. The next one that I use on every single Nano tank, highly recommend them for Nano tanks and also even a shrimp tank. I have them on all of my shrimp tanks and have extreme success with them. And that's going to be a hang-on back filter. Now, there's a ton of them out there in the hobby. Now, I went through a ton of them as well because noise. How loud are they? Which ones do I prefer? Also from being able to control the flow rate, and also that have created a great area for beneficial bacteria to build up to help cycle that tank and keep that tank maintained and enhance the life that's in there from a filtration perspective, as well as when you're adding in life into your aquarium. That could be plants or can also be your invertebrates or fish. Sorry. So the hang-on back filters from Aquatop is what I use. And here's one. I took it out because I was cleaning a tank earlier today. The reason why I like these is they're super quiet. Not a lot of noise comes out of these at all. And then they also allow you to control the flow rate. So right here is the flow rate. So for shrimp, you don't want too much flow rate, but you want enough, right? So this will allow you to control that flow rate. I still have it even on all of my tanks. I know some people say that you shouldn't have a lot of flow rate. I have it on full for this size, which is their smallest size, which is about $10 to $15. Super cost effective, especially when you're adding up the cost of a sponge filter. The aeration pump plus the sponge filter almost equals out to this. I would say it does equal out to this. So this does come with the removable. So if you ever needed to remove this, you can clean this out for the intake. If you're going to have shrimp, if they have little shrimplets, which mine always do, this will actually suck them up as well. So I highly recommend buying a separate sponge filter that you put around the intake. And I'll put them in my comments. I buy these in bulk. It's like only, I don't know, like $3. And you just put this over it so that basically this actually adds as another filtration point. But essentially from here, they won't be able to be sucked up into here. You'll see them starting to eat from this perspective too, because biofilm starts to build up, but also beneficial bacteria. So this is a great way to add filtration and also prevent shrimplets to be sucked up into the intake and into your hang-on back filter. So just highly recommend making sure you have a cover. Second point of contact would be the filtration type itself. So it does come with a polyfiber in it, with activated carbon, which is great for when you're first starting out your tank to remove any toxins in the water, especially if you're not remineralizing, because that's adding it into like RODI water. But if you're going through and getting tap water and then using dechlor on it, you probably still want to have some type of activated carbon when you're first starting out your tank. After that, you just need a polyfiber. And you can just buy these in bulk and cut them to size. That's what I use. So I use a 2-part system, which is polyfiber after everything. And then I use this sponge that comes with it. This sponge essentially just builds up beneficial bacteria. I never clean this, but I do change these out, right? This is a brand new one. It's not dirty at all. And this will filter out your water as well, since it's a microfiber. And basically we'll go through and then water will be going through here, pick up all of the debris, come out of here with the beneficial bacteria building up in here as well. So that's kind of my cycle. That's how I have these. So I just stack them like this, and then the water fills into here. Again, this is super quiet, so highly recommend this. And it doesn't take up much space. So you'll start seeing some of my Nano tanks cut into here, because essentially the only thing that's going into the tank is this part right here. So only this part takes up space in the tank. This is on the back side. Again, highly recommend these for filtration in your aquarium and to enhance the water quality. All of my tanks are extremely clear, and it could come from the polyfiber. Majority of the times it's what it is and what it has been for me. Cleaning out the debris from that aquarium in that water column. And again, beneficial bacteria building up on that sponge and just creating that excellent cycle for your aquarium and enhancing that life in your aquarium as well. So I highly recommend the hang-on back filter. Third, last one. So you have 3 in the hobby. Remember, sponge filter, then you have your hang-on back filters, and then you have now your canister filters. I love canister filters. Now, they do have one for your nanoscapes. However, they're super expensive. So I use the hang-on back filters because it's like $10, $15 for a hang-on back filter, versus the canisters that they have from UN, which are for nano tanks. They're only about like this tall. I just don't want to spend $250. For my 10-gallon and my 20-gallon, and then my next 20-gallon that I'm going to be scaping, they all have Fluval filter line. Now, people have asked me, I know, I will get you a video out to change out the intake and outtake lines so that they're the clear tubing. It's 5/8 tubing if you want to just get a jump start, because people keep asking, and I haven't scaped this one here yet. and that's when I was going to do the video for it. But you can go and order a 5/8 tubing and then a 16 millimeter lily pipes that you want to add in for your return and also your intake. So that being said, why are canister filters so great? Why do they enhance the water quality overall? They're great for overstocked tanks because the water flow rate and turnover rate, that's what I was looking for, thinking of, turnover rate is higher than what you would get from a hang-on back filter. And the larger you get from hang-on back filters, the more noisier they get. So I tend to stick with the two smaller size from AquaTop. So yeah, anyways. The great thing about them is they also have media. So media creates more surface area for biobacteria. Well, no, not bacteria either. For beneficial bacteria, yes, there we go, to build up. So basically what you're able to have is in your canister filters, which I have one on this tank, and also you'll see a video of me showing you, let's start with the amount of space it takes in your aquarium, not a lot. Because essentially you'll see in this video, my 20-gallon tank where it's in the back corner of my aquarium, there's the intake pipe and then the outtake pipe. Doesn't take up much space at all. You'll see both. I have one of my 10-gallon where I haven't actually changed the line on the intake part. So you'll kind of see that it's still a darker black line that comes from Fluval, which is not aesthetically pleasing at all. But then you'll see my lily pipe and my return pipe. But again, so you're able to have a smaller area for your return and intake. And then going into the filtration itself, the smaller one, the 106, is what I use in my 10-gallon. It has a two-part system. So the first part is going to be a sponge filter it has three parts, I guess, if you look at it overall. When it intakes, it has two filtration points, and then it goes into these cartons of things that you can put into it. So typically I have a sponge, and then I have my micro polyfiber, and that's just cleaning out debris, very fine debris, because it's such a fine micro polyfiber. And that's the same micro polyfiber that I use in here. I just cut out and replace with that in there. And then I also do use, from that perspective, moving on to the next one, activated carbon, or I use some Purigen, just depending on what I have in the aquarium. If it's a brand new aquarium, I use Purigen to remove tannins. So that's another way, or activated carbon. Some folks actually just don't even use activated carbon when the tank is completely cycled. They just use straight micro polyfibers to clean out debris, which is also great. And then they maximize the rest of the space with your biomedia. So from there, again, I use the sponge. It's just a not as fine sponge, then the micro polyfibers, activated carbon, and then it hits the... So then biomedia, and then I add a phosphate remover for my last part. So that's just what I have. That's what keeps my tanks pristine and also helps filtration. Now for my 20-gallon, I went the size up. It's the 207 or 206 from Fluval because I have it overstocked. So you have to be aware of overstocking tanks and removing items from the tank as well. So just being aware that I overstocked the tank intentionally, and I went a size up on the filtration. So the turnover rate, the flow rate, so basically it's taking out more than it should from filtration. So the turnover is going through that filtration itself at a double the rate than a typical correct size filtration would be. So if you're overstocking a tank and you need more filtration to pull out that water and turn it over and filter out all of the macro waste, then you want to make sure you have a higher turnover rate, which is what I have for my larger tank, for the 20-gallon tank, which is my largest tank. For this 20-gallon tank here that I'm going to be scaping soon, I'm going to put the smaller one that does go up to it with the highest flow rate, but I'm doing that because cost conscientious of this tank. I want to make it so that all of you, if you wanted to escape something, it's just in that right realm. Canister filters are more expensive. So the canister filter that I purchased for this one is $150. The 10-gallon one is $120 on Amazon. And then the cost keeps going because you have to, if you're just going to do it with what it comes with, then that's the cost outright. But then if you're going to replace the tubing, you can buy a bunch of tubing, which I did for like $40 for all of mine. And then also your lily pipes are more expensive. So if you're using glass or stainless steel, which is what I have on this tank, I use stainless steel lily pipes. Those are just going to be adding cost to it. But they're optimal for filtration because of turnover rate, and also bonus points, they're quiet. They're the quietest filtration in all of my studio here. So highly recommend them if you're looking for quiet and budget isn't an issue. If budget is an issue and you're looking for something that's still going to create quality filtration, then you're going to go through and use the hang-on back filters. So enough about that. If you do have any additional questions, feel free to comment. If you felt that this video was helpful, please like and subscribe. If you have any additional questions, again, please comment. I'm here to answer them. But until next time, I'll see you all on the next video.